And hello, one and all, and welcome to this live Google Hangout. I'm here once again with my good friend Robbie One Kenobi. Robbie, thank you for joining me today. I
Of course,
appreciate
thank
it.
you for having me.
Not a problem. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we are only, it's hard to believe, we are only 7 days, literally to almost to the hour, till SummerSlam 2016. And I couldn't think of a better time than this week, the week of SummerSlam, to do our top 15 favorite SummerSlam matches in the history of this great pay-per-view event. Um, SummerSlam, I know for me, has always been, to me, it's almost like the end of summer because it's like it's near the end of August, and I know when SummerSlam's coming up, it's like that's when to me summer comes to a close, and it's the second biggest event in wrestling for WWE wise. You have WrestleMania, and then you have this is the WrestleMania of the summer, quote unquote. So that's what I always look forward to about SummerSlam. Robbie, your thoughts on SummerSlam? Just on the overall event, and you gotta love looking forward to it every year.
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing my predictions video later this week, but I'm really looking forward to the show. I think 4 hours this year is gonna really pay off, and that's what I'm hoping for because we have a stacked card. Like I told you, when the first 4 matches for this show were announced, I was like, this card's already better than last year. Last year went 4 hours, and I thought, okay, maybe they're gonna do something big this year. I hope this show delivers. And I thought last year's show was all right. I was disappointed because I was expecting a better show. You did have a great title for title match. Brock and Taker was a really good match up into that stupid-ass, screwy-ass finish. I thought Kevin Owens and Cesaro had a hidden gem of a match. I just finished watching it on the network while I was waiting for the stream to go live. And I thought the New Day, I thought that Fatal 4-Way was a
Good match.
tag team. Yeah, very good match. But the rest of the show was just
Bland.
yeah, and it's unfortunate, But this year, I'm really looking forward to the show. I mean, I can't believe Finn Balor is in one of the 3 big main events of the card, 4 actually, if you count Cena Styles as well.
Yes, that's the main event.
Challenging for the title. Ziggler's challenging for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Brock and Orton are going to go at it. So I'm really looking forward to this show. I'm happy with Sasha being the champion going in, and her match with Charlotte should be great. Like, I'll save all this for my predictions video, but I'm really looking forward. I got a feeling that this show has potential to be really good, to not only blow last year out of the water, but to be probably the best SummerSlam since 2013.
Oh, I mean, we could talk all day. Yeah, SummerSlam 2013, that was one of the best pay-per-views I've ever watched, and I definitely agree with you. I think this year's has the potential to top it. I just feel like this year, it's fitting that it is 4 hours. Like you said, I don't have a problem with the show being 4 hours because you look at the top matches on this card, Brock Orton, Balor Rollins, Cena Styles, Banks and Charlotte, I'd say, is up there as one of the top matches. And then you have Ambrose and Ziggler. I mean, that's 5 big matches for the show. I mean, last year, outside of the, Lesnar Taker and then Cena Rollins, I mean, those were the 2 matches that you were invested in going to the show. But I feel like this year, we're more so that's 5 matches right there. I mean, we're invested in, and Cena Styles too, if I forgot to mention. That's a lot of upper card matches to look forward to. Plus, I feel we have a solid undercard this year. So
oh yeah,
it
definitely
works. I feel it's going to be a fun 4-hour show. It really is.
I hope so, Daniel, because this card has potential. Every match has potential to be good to great. I don't feel like there's any throwaway matches or filler matches. I mean, last year I feel like a few of them were bland and just like filler, like
Look,
the 3-team women's tag match.
Oh, that was ugh.
Yeah.
I was there for that. I mean, I was in the building that night. There were just some remember how it opened last year, and I know it can't open any worse. Remember, it was Sheamus and Orton.
Yeah.
That was a terrible way to start SummerSlam. Minor rant here, but I remember being there. I'm like, really? This is how we're going to start the show? And that just set like a weird, like the card structure I didn't like last year. But I think this year we'll have a much better structured card.
Yeah. No, definitely.
I'll make a quick prediction here. Do you think they'll open with the Jericho KO tag match with Enzo and Big Cass? Because you want to get that crowd off to a huge reaction. You want to get it off to a hot start. They're going to go nuts for how you doing the realest guys in the room. I think that'd be a great way to open the show.
That would be an awesome way to open the show because Enzo and Cass are going to get that Brooklyn homecoming.
Oh man,
they're going to be freaking loved, man.
yes.
That's the best way to kick off the show. You want to get the crowd hot and excited, so why not do it with Enzo and Cass versus Team Jericho, and then maybe have the IC title match follow that, and then I gotta look at the card. I forget exactly all 9 matches. Because I know we have our own top 15 to do soon. Well, this is how I'm gonna predict the before we go on with the video. This is how I'm gonna predict the matches, like the order I'm predicting them. And I think actually when you look at this, you could have like this is the way you could have the card structured. So Enzo and Cass versus Jericho, obvious perfect choice for an opener. Then maybe do the tag team championship match. Because when you look at it, like every other match except for the tag match, Cena and Styles and Orton and Lesnar are for major titles. So you could do the tag title next, then maybe Intercontinental title after that, United States title after that, women's title before Cena and Styles, and then your 2 world title matches and the Orton Lesnar match. Just most likely
going to main event with Lesnar, which they could. I think there are 2 matches. It's either going to be Lesnar or Orton as the main event, or Balor Rollins for the Universal title. I think those are your 2 possible main events. Yeah,
definitely. That's what Deluxe Man was saying. It's either going to be Orton and Brock or Seth and Finn closing the show.
I mean, it's just, man, this feels like WrestleMania. I'm saying it. This is what WrestleMania should have been. That's okay. I mean, think about it. We had all these injuries we had, and that really affected Mania. And now I feel like we're getting one of the better cards that WWE can put together with the talent involved. So, like I said, props to them on this card. It's stacked. That's the best way to describe it. Stacked card.
I'm going to say one thing, Daniel, before we get underway with our favorite SummerSlam matches. Please, for the love of God, if this is supposed to be a new era, give us a new set.
Bingo, bingo, bingo. I love that. Thank you for bringing that up because I remember you should have seen. I should have did a reaction video when I went into the Barclays Center. I'm thinking, okay, what's the set gonna look like? This is SummerSlam. It's the WrestleMania of the summer. What did they do? It was the shitty Raw set. So at least, hey, we're guaranteed the new Raw set if they just decide to do that. It's not gonna be that old. But I agree. This show needs an identity. It doesn't even have to be the Brooklyn Bridge, which would be awesome. Do I don't know, a subway or something New York related. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
That would be nice to make it feel like a big show, So we'll see. I'm looking. I think something tells me we're gonna get a new set. I don't know why. I'm just saying it.
Oh, and one other thing. I really hope that when it comes to the SmackDown matches, that it's Mauro Ranallo and the crew calling those matches. Please don't let it just be. Don't let it go back to being Michael Cole and Byron Saxton from Raw and JBL from SmackDown. Don't do that, please.
They're so bad. I mean, how can they be that bad? I mean, I know it's Vince and everything, so that's a large part of the blame because he is in their ear. Remember Mick Foley said, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. That's it. I quit. I'm not doing commentary anymore. So part of the blame goes to that, but I agree. They don't have any chemistry. They're just awful.
I'll tell you something. I got a feeling. I feel like Michael Cole's commentary has been a little better since Corey Graves.
Yes, it has.
Came to the main roster because Corey Graves, I don't care where he is, he's one of the best commentators out there. I love him as a heel. I don't even consider him a heel commentator. He's just freaking awesome.
He's entertaining.
Yeah. So all I hope for is a new set and that the Raw guys call the Raw matches and the SmackDown guys call the SmackDown matches. And please don't put Mauro Ranallo on the pre-show. He's too good for that.
Yes, he is.
He's great. I love him, but he does not deserve to be on the pre-show. Yes, he's making a great living doing what he does, but he should be on the main show. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, he should. Yes, he should. So, are you ready for to begin our top 15 favorite matches?
You should know me by now, dude. I wish I had the towel, but I'm always ready, willing, and able.
There it is. All right. So without further ado, I'll start with my number 15 pick. Let me get my list pulled up here. So on my number 15 pick, I'm going with, this is a good one, from SummerSlam 2009. It was the main event of that show. Jeff Hardy versus CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship in a tables ladders and chairs match. This was a very good TLC match. In my opinion, the feud between Punk and Jeff Hardy, that had to have been one of the best feuds in '09, if not the best feud in 2009. I enjoyed the work together. I felt like they complemented one another with Punk's straight edge lifestyle and Jeff Hardy's, well, he did do drugs, so, Punk could poke fun at that. And it really got personal at times, and I felt like this feud culminated with this amazing TLC match. They main evented SummerSlam, which is really hard to believe. And it's a good thing because they deserved to main event that show. And I remember Jeff getting on the big ladder and doing, I believe it was it the Swanton? I think he jumped off of it. He did some kind of
Swanton to the table, yeah.
It was the Swan, and it was amazing. And then remember Taker returned at the end. Great TLC match, a lot of good stuff in here, and Punk winning the world title. That's why it's my number 15 on this list.
Yep, very good match for the most part. Nice way to start off your list. You're welcome. Coming in number 15 on my list is the main event from SummerSlam 1988, which I thought was a great, fun match. It was the Mega Powers versus the Mega Bucks. And what I liked about this match was how it combined the two feuds that were going on at that time: Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant, and Macho Man Randy Savage versus Million Dollar Man Ted DiBiase. This stemmed from the WrestleMania 4 championship tournament finals, where DiBiase was beaten by Savage. And then, of course, you had the epic union of Macho Man Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan, undoubtedly the two biggest names in the 1980s, going up against, quite frankly, their two biggest rivals at that time, DiBiase and Andre. I thought the match for a 14-minute match was great. And, of course, at the end, you had Miss Elizabeth, who played the deciding factor in the match when she shocked the world by ripping her skirt off and distracting the Mega Bucks, which allowed the Mega Powers to get the win. An interesting little fact here, Daniel, is that the original plan for the main event was Ric Flair versus Macho Man Randy Savage for the WWF Championship. Vince tried to sign Flair at that time, bring him over from the NWA, but Flair felt obliged to the NWA, so they went with the tag match, which, like I said, great fun tag match. It was the main event of SummerSlam '88, and that just emphasized how big Macho Man and Hogan were at the time, and Miss Elizabeth even got a spot to shine in that match. It was just a great match.
Good pick all around. All right, so we're gonna move on to our number 14 picks. For my number 14 pick, I'm going with the semi-main event for last year's SummerSlam. It was Seth Rollins versus John Cena. Really great match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship and the United States Championship. Both titles were on the line. I felt like going into that event, it was one of the matches I was most looking forward to. Like I mentioned before, felt like Rollins went out there and he had the performance of a night. I remember being in the crowd. We were so against seeing Cena break Ric Flair's title record. And Rollins just went out there. He was flying all over the ring. I remember he did a Phoenix splash. He was in all white. He played that match almost up as the face, even though technically he was going in as the heel. Like I said, it was great stuff from Rollins. Cena certainly held his own in that match. And then you had the ending with, I didn't really care for Jon Stewart getting involved. But all in all, it was probably the best. It was the best match that night at SummerSlam 2015. And like I said, that's why it's on my list at number 14 for my top 15 favorite matches.
Yeah, definitely. That was one of my favorite matches of that card last year. That was the match of the night. Seth Rollins, I feel like, always brings it on the big stages: Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and then last year he did it at SummerSlam as well. I didn't even stop to think about it until people made a meme out of it, but they were calling him the White Ranger with his Ring of Time. Cool. Which is cool because Jason David Frank was badass as the White Ranger. And Seth Rollins, I think, is on that level as well. And the thing with Jon Stewart, if they were, I was cool with it only because it helped Seth Rollins win.
Sure.
But I feel like if Jon Stewart was going to be intervened, why don't you just put him in? Why not have him help the Undertaker win? Because wasn't he saying he was going to go find Brock Lesnar?
That's true.
So yeah. But great pick. Hey, great match. I loved it too. I thought it was the best match of the night. Great choice for number 14. Going into my number 14, I have from 2001, the first of 3 matches from 2001. It was a ladder match for the Hardcore Championship. It was Jeff Hardy versus Rob Van Dam. I thought that was a great match between those two. Like I said, this is the first of 3 matches from 2001 that will be on this list. I feel like SummerSlam 2001 is very underrated. Yes, the invasion angle didn't go the way it should have gone, because when you think WWF versus WCW, you're thinking Undertaker versus Sting, Goldberg versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan versus The Rock, or Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Hulk Hogan. You're not thinking like, how do I say this? Like Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Booker T. Although that was a match I did want to see back in the day when I was watching both shows. You're not thinking this guy versus Buff Bagwell or whatnot. But there were some good things that came out of the invasion. And one of them was the feud between Jeff Hardy and Rob Van Dam, because you would think this was a dream feud. RVD, he was one hell of an athlete in ECW. He was unorthodox, but he was so exciting to watch in the ring. Jeff Hardy, a freaking daredevil. Their feud in 2001 over the Hardcore Championship was great. They had a classic at Invasion in which Rob Van Dam annexed Jeff Hardy the championship. And then I forgot how he got it back, but then they decided to do a ladder match, which is, of course, one of Jeff Hardy's specialties. And they had a great match. I think this is an underrated match. I think it's a hidden gem in SummerSlam history, and I think it's of the matches they had. I think this is the hidden gem of their feud. It was during this match that I started to like Rob Van Dam. Like, I started to become an RVD fan. Just great spots. I remember RVD doing the Rolling Thunder onto Jeff while Jeff's like lying on a ladder in the corner, and they drop kicked one another off the ladder. It was just a great match. And I would watch that match again and again, and just the spots they did. They weren't really crazy spots like going through tables and stuff, but still a great ladder match. And that's like one of my favorite matches, not only in SummerSlam history, but from both guys' careers, because I think they were pretty much tailor-made for each other with their styles.
Definitely, I agree. That is a hidden gem. You really don't hear people talk about it, and I don't know why. I mean, I just rewatched it on the network a couple weeks ago, and it's a great ladder match, great storytelling, and 2 of the great, high flyers, quote unquote. You think it is a dream match, RVD versus Jeff Hardy, and they were in their primes and on the big stage of SummerSlam, and the match delivered. So that's a great pick for number 14. All right, we're going to be moving on to our number 13 picks. And for my number 13 pick, I'm going with the classic from SummerSlam 2008. It was the match of the show, the match that main evented that show. And I'm talking about Edge versus The Undertaker inside Hell in a Cell. Now, Edge and The Undertaker, they had one of the best feuds in 2008, if not the best feud. They had their great match, at WrestleMania. Then they had, I believe, a TLC match. They had other matches too, I know. Maybe there was 1 or 2 other matches in between there. The Undertaker got banished, and then he had to be reinstated by Vicky, and then it all culminated in the Hell in a Cell match at SummerSlam. So it was a great blow-off for the Edge and Undertaker feud, and this was just a great Hell in a Cell match. I mean, the amount of punishment that these guys went through, I believe they went through, they crashed through the cell itself, and then that ending of when Undertaker takes Edge and chokeslams him through the ring, and then the ring explodes with fire, and it's just a great visual, and Undertaker standing tall, and these two, they told a great match. They had a great match, and they told a great story, and it was a great main event for SummerSlam 2008, and one of the better Hell in a Cell matches in recent memory. So that's why it's on my list at number 13.
Definitely. Their feud was awesome, and their feud actually dated back to 2007 when Edge cashed in Money in the Bank, right, Taker to win the championship. And their feud, I mean, like, they had the WrestleMania match, then Backlash, then Judgment Day. And I think it was Judgment Day when the whole Hell's Gate banishment thing went into play. And then, of course, they did the TLC match where the title was vacant and Taker lost and he was banished. And then Vicky and Edge had their issues, and that resulted in Taker being brought back. And that was a Hell in a Cell. That was one of the more meaningful Hell in a Cell matches, because that feud, pretty much the best way to culminate it was those two duking it out inside Hell in a Cell after everything they went through. And it was definitely sweet revenge for Undertaker to finally beat Edge in that situation, and then chokeslam him through the ring and pretty much send him to hell. So great match. I mean, that was the match of the night. that year at SummerSlam, and that was the best way to finish that feud.
Indeed.
All right, so my number 13 pick on my list is from 2011. It is CM Punk versus John Cena for the undisputed WWE Championship. I thought it was a great main event for the most part. Definitely not better than there's no way they would ever top that Money in the Bank Classic because of, one, where it was held, and two, just everything that went into that match, storytelling and whatnot. But I felt like their rematch at SummerSlam was great for the most part. I didn't watch SummerSlam live that night, but I remember on Facebook saying if John Cena walks out the undisputed champion, I'm done, because I really feel like CM Punk can do great things with the title. If Cena leaves with that belt, I'm freaking done with this company. And in the end, Cena didn't walk out because Punk technically won the match, but then, of course, Alberto Del Rio cashed in on him. But I was happy that Cena wasn't champion. I thought they put on a great match. Triple H was the guest referee. I saw this match on back in the day, Xfinity on Demand to get ready for SummerSlam. They would offer free matches, so you could watch like free classic matches. And I saw this one, and I would watch it a lot. And I just thought, not better than Money in the Bank, but still a great match. I liked how the match went. Of course, there was the screwy finish with Cena having his foot on the rope and Punk getting the 3 count because Triple H couldn't see. But still a great match. And Punk and Cena have pretty much had great matches throughout their career. I haven't seen their Night of Champions one yet. I need to, though. That one on Raw where Cena got pile driven was
epic. I love that Raw match.
Yeah. Number 13, Punk and Cena from 2011, still a great match. Happy Punk won the match. Even though he didn't leave with the title, I'm happy he won the match. The only thing I gripe I have with this match is that I wish it would have been Rey Mysterio and John Cena, because I hate that Rey won the title that night in that tournament, and then he had to lose it to Cena like an hour later. It's like,
yes, I agree.
Why not just give the freaking title to Cena? Why not have Cena in the freaking finals with the Miz if you're gonna give it to him anyway?
You're good.
Good.
Well, I was gonna say that looking back on it, now we can do this with hindsight. They shouldn't have brought Punk back for a long, long time. He won the title. He's quote unquote gone. I felt like he was gone for a week, 2 weeks, and that's it. And then he's already back. If you kept him away for a longer time and build the suspense, you see him taking the title to this place and that place. I just felt they blew the lid on that just to build to the match at SummerSlam. But if you waited longer and had a long-term plan in place, obviously you couldn't build to WrestleMania because it was going to be Rock and Cena. But what if you waited till Survivor Series? You had it at Madison Square Garden, and you build to a big Punk versus Cena match, and maybe you turn Cena heel, and now Punk's the man. He's the new champion. I know Solomonster mentioned this a long time ago. That was his scenario, and I agree. They took it. He was only gone 2 weeks. It's like, that wasn't long enough. Way too soon.
Yeah. No, I agree. There are things about this whole Cena Punk feud after Money in the Bank that I would have liked to have seen done better. Rey and Cena should have gone out there and main evented SummerSlam.
Yep.
You could have had Cena win the title back, and then Cena could still be the man, but maybe after a while they hype Cena up too much, or they say he's the greatest fighting champion of all time, and then Punk comes back and says, well, you won that little toy championship, but I got the real belt right here. So Survivor Series in New York City would have been perfect, because that would have been a pro CM Punk crowd.
Exactly. And I felt the time to turn, if you were ever going to turn Cena heel, Punk was ready to be the guy, the top guy. And you could have turned Cena and have Punk been the white hot baby face. And, oh, man, that would have made 2012 so much better. I'm telling you. Imagine Cena as the heel and Punk as the man. It's a shame it never happened. And that's a missed opportunity. That's
a shame. Didn't happen. To me personally, I still find it a joke that Rey had the title for 1 hour and
I'm sorry, that's the poor Rey.
Yeah, I don't know why they just didn't let him and Cena. That would have been a great match to close out SummerSlam. I don't know why they didn't have Punk and Cena. Ray and Cena. I'm saying Punk, Ray and Cena close out the show because I think Rey Mysterio is one of the all-time greats, and you give him the WWE Championship to just hold on for 1 hour because he's gonna basically just give it to John Cena. Like, I never was a fan of that. When I saw the headline, I'm like, wait, what? Like, I had to look at him like, and I didn't say a word, but to myself, I thought they freaking gave it to Cena after they gave it to Ray the same night. Like,
I know.
that's something I really hate. I really wish Ray would have gone in the SummerSlam champion. Just give him that moment, you know.
Sure, he would have deserved it, definitely.
Yeah. But anyway, getting back to my list, like I said, 13 is Punk and Cena from 2011. Great match. You know, like we were saying, they could have done bigger things with Punk leaving, but still a great match. Punk and Cena haven't really had bad matches before, and this was just, you know, I don't think a lot of people talk about it, but yes, they'll never top Money in the Bank, but as a follow-up sequel, it was a great match. I loved it. I was happy Punk won because I wanted him to win. And, yeah, it's still a good, fun match to go back and watch.
All right. We're going to be moving on to our number 12 picks. And on my list for number 12, I have a feeling this will be on your list as well. This is an underrated match from an underrated SummerSlam 2001. So the WWF Championship, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle. What a great match this was. What a great story that was told in the ring. Angle, you know, he was the face in this match. Stone Cold was in the midst of his heel character persona, and this was just a great match from start to finish. Angle, the technical wrestling machine. Austin, you know, he was kind of being the cowardly heel at this point. You know, he wasn't the Stone Cold that we all knew and loved, but him and Angle still went out there, and they had what I felt was one of the better matches in SummerSlam history for the WWF Championship. And the finish came down to, I believe it was a disqualification. That's how the match came to an end. And I believe, didn't Angle eventually win the title next month in Pittsburgh at Unforgiven?
He did.
Okay, so that's where this story eventually led. So the finish itself was a little bit disappointing. I mean, there were a bunch of referees that came. I think there were like 4 or 5, if I'm not mistaken. It was crazy. But really great match. I don't feel like a lot of people talk about it, so that's why I had to put it on this list. It's a great match from SummerSlam 01.
Definitely a great match. One of the best matches on that card. Little spoiler alert, that will be appearing on my list later on in this video. But as far as my number 12 pick is concerned, mine comes from SummerSlam 2005. I feel like it was one of the only 2 good matches on that card, and it was Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero in the ladder match for the custody of Dominic. This feud in 2005 was great. Rey and Eddie had a great series of matches. Eddie Guerrero played the perfect heel in this feud. The one thing about this match and this feud that I don't like, that I thought was dumb, because unless WWE thinks we're stupid, we know who's the real, you know, we know the difference between reality and, you know, fiction.
Yep.
I hated that they had Eddie reveal himself as Dominic's father.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows Rey is the biological father of Dominic.
Right.
What I would have preferred was, you remember how he kept telling, like, he kept doing all the Uncle Eddie's bedtime stories?
No, but I remember from the I didn't watch back then, so.
Okay. Well, anyway, like, what I would have preferred was, like, Eddie is trying to get back at Rey. So if he figures, if I can't beat him, well, I'm going to get back at him, you know, in a personal manner. I'll get back at him by, like, manipulating or brainwashing his own son. Like, instead of having Eddie say, I'm your father, I'm your papi, have him manipulate, brainwash, whatever, you know, Dominic, and try to convince him that he's really Dominic's father, not Rey. And then you do this match at SummerSlam where Rey wins Dominic back, you know, because I just felt like that was dumb, because we all know Rey is the real father. But as far as this match was concerned, it was great. Yes, there were a few botches in it, but I really felt like the storytelling and emotion in it was great. There were a few crazy spots. You know, it was a great match. It was one of the better matches on SummerSlam 2005 card. Honestly, I think it was the match of the night, because I can't really think of anything else that could have topped this. And this was just another great chapter and great feud, probably the feud of the year for 2005. You know, Ray and Eddie had great matches. Their feud was awesome. And like I said, I wish this match just would have had Eddie maybe bring Dominic to ringside to watch him beat up Ray. But then, you know, Ray overcomes Eddie. Dominic realized, you know, Dominic sees through Eddie's lies and whatnot. And that would have been better for the feud. But the ladder match was great. You know, despite the botches, despite Eddie, I don't know if you've seen that video, but there's a video of him like cursing like hell because Vicky was supposed to come out earlier in the match and she missed her timing.
Oh shit! I did not see that. I didn't know that happened. Huh?
Yeah, you can find it on YouTube. But yeah, number 12 on my list, Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero from 2005. Great SummerSlam match. Yes, there are a few botches, but I still think it's one of the best matches. Was one of my favorite matches, and it was definitely the best match of the night from 2005 because I really thought that card was disappointing. But Ray and Eddie delivered again. Great feud, great match, and yeah, it's number 12 on my list.
All right, that's a really good pick, and that match will also be reappearing in my list fairly shortly, so just to let everybody know that. But we're going to be moving on to our number 11 picks, and my pick for number 11 comes from the phenomenal SummerSlam 2013. It's the main event of that show. It was John Cena versus Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship. My God, what a great match this was. I mean, just the story that was being told. This was the beginning of Bryan's rise to the top of WWE. I mean, in this match, think about this. He beat John Cena clean for the WWE Championship. How many guys can say that in the main event of a pay-per-view, and let alone the pay-per-view of a Big Four event? You know, SummerSlam is a huge event. And I just felt like I loved the way that, you know, Bryan and Cena complemented one another in this match. I thought they had, you know, just the type of match that I would expect them to have, you know, Cena with the power and the resiliency, but Bryan with, you know, the technical prowess and his speed to eventually overcome Cena and hit him with the running knee. And when Bryan was like trying to, I believe him and Cena were slapping the hell out of each other, and like, you know, Bryan was mentioning in that promo that's a custom that Japanese wrestlers do to one another, and it was just the build for this match was great. And you know, seeing Bryan win was even more shocking. And then we had the ending with Randy Orton cashing in the beginning of the Authority with Triple H turning on Bryan, and I just loved what this match had to offer and where this match eventually led to Bryan's rise and culminating in the main event of WrestleMania 30. So this was the beginning of that, and what a great way to close out a great SummerSlam. John Cena versus Daniel Bryan.
Definitely. That was an awesome match. I was so rooting for Daniel Bryan in that match. It was great to see him main event a show the caliber of SummerSlam, and that whole card 2013 was just great. I don't really feel like there was a bad match. Even the match between Natalya and Brie Bella was decent for what it was. But yeah, that was just an awesome match. Real quick, Daniel, if you want to say anything else about that match, I gotta go grab something real quick, but I'll be right back. So if you want to say anything else about that show in general, go ahead and I'll be right back. Sorry.
That's all right. Good. SummerSlam 2013 to me it's one of my favorite SummerSlams and one of my favorite pay-per-views that I've watched, you know, since I started watching WWE in 2008. And the build for this show was really, really good. WrestleMania, I remember that year, was mediocre. WrestleMania 29 was not a good show. So in the build-up to SummerSlam 2013, I really felt like this, similar to this year, I feel like, you know, SummerSlam 2013 was what WrestleMania 29 should have been. From that card, from top to bottom, all the matches mattered. You had Cena versus Bryan for the WWE Championship, Lesnar versus Punk for amazing, you know, match right there, match of the year in my opinion for 2013. You had Damian Sandow versus Cody Rhodes. That was a solid undercard match. You had Bray Wyatt versus Kane in the Ring of Fire match. That was different. That was unique. You know, even the stuff with Dolph Ziggler and AJ Lee, or it was Dolph Ziggler and Caitlyn versus Big E and AJ. Even that was good. You know, everything on this show had a purpose. You know, the two major matches delivered, and SummerSlam 2013, like I said, is probably one of the better SummerSlams in the last few years here. So that's why I always hold it in high regard. And like I said, that's why I'm including John Cena versus Daniel Bryan at number 11 on my list. It was a long time coming with the way that, like I said, they built to Bryan being chosen by Cena as his opponent for SummerSlam. And, how the McMahons didn't want Bryan to become champion because he didn't look like the guy. He wasn't, the corporate looking, figure that they wanted. And they wanted him to shave his beard and whatnot and cut his hair. But he said he wasn't going to change, and that he was going to walk in and walk out as the WWE champion. And he did that. And that ending was so great. And then the swerve with Randy Orton coming out, and you're thinking, oh, they got the fireworks, the confetti, everything's going off, and you're thinking, oh, they're just going to have Orton stare down Bryan, and that's how we're going to go out. We'll look forward to what happens on Raw the next night. But that turn with Triple H, I really didn't see that coming. And then when he hit Bryan with the pedigree, I marked out. I'm like, what the hell? What the hell is going on here? Triple H, what are you doing? And then he hits Bryan with the pedigree. Orton hands him the briefcase, just gives him that smug, arrogant look. And then, Orton beats Bryan 1, 2, 3. He's your new corporate champion for the Authority. And it began a long title reign for Orton. And, like I said, that began Bryan's rise, his ascent to the top of WWE as the face of WWE, and eventually in his amazing WrestleMania 30 win for that show. So all in all, I felt like a lot of good came out of SummerSlam. Well, it's a shame afterwards, several of the pay-per-views after this show, kind of the quality lessened and lessened and lessened. I know Night of Champions wasn't that good, and then Battleground was even worse, and then Hell in a Cell was just mediocre. But to me, this was the pay-per-view event of 2013, and that's why I put Cena versus Bryan on my list at number 11.
Yeah, I swerve. I didn't see coming. I did not see that swerve. Well, as Bryan was celebrating, I was like, awesome. He's closing the show as WWE champion. But, like, there was a part of me saying, okay, wait a minute. There's something that doesn't feel right. Like, don't tell me Randy Orton's going to come out and cash in. And as I said that, then his music hit. And I was like, oh, my God, is he going to cash in? Like, we're Facebook friends. So if you go to my channel, if you go to my profile, I have a video of my live reaction to that match when it ended, when Orton came out, and when Triple H turned on him, and you can hear us chanting, "That's effed up." You got to check it out. But yeah, that led to one of the greatest moments of Daniel Bryan's career. After all he was put through, he won the championship at WrestleMania 30, one of the most emotional moments of that show. And that was great. I mean, Cena Bryan doesn't really get talked about too much either, but that's an awesome championship match. Now moving on to my number 12, I have, or no, not my number 12, but number 11, right?
Yes.
All right. So moving on to my number 11, I have the opener from SummerSlam 2002, Rey Mysterio versus Kurt Angle. Freaking awesome match to kick off that show, and that's undoubtedly the best SummerSlam in history.
Mm-hmm.
Rey Mysterio coming to WWE was a huge moment for me because he was my favorite hands down in WCW, and I always thought he would just do great things in the WWF/E. So when I found out he had signed with them, I was so happy because that's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, luchador to come to the WWF/E. And his first pay-per-view in, he battles the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle, who won a gold medal with a broken freaking neck. Great feud, great build-up for that for their match. I wish they would have had a couple more pay-per-view matches, but I mean, if you remember the build, Daniel, Rey beats Kurt Angle in a 6-man match. It was Rey Mysterio, Edge, and a guy by the name of John Cena, who was wearing biker shorts early on in his run, versus Kurt and it was either Kurt, Eddie Guerrero, and Chris Benoit, or Kurt and Los Guerreros. But nonetheless, Rey beats Kurt in the match. Kurt Angle can't believe it. He goes backstage and he says, "I just got pinned by a freaking 12-year-old."
Oh, that's funny.
That was great, and he just could not believe that Rey Mysterio, as small as he is, that he can't believe that Rey beat him. So he wants to fight Rey. So he doesn't. Okay, what I love about this feud was that Kurt Angle's like, "Oh well, that didn't count," and Rey comes up to him and says, "So how about you and me headed off at SummerSlam and I make it count?" And I love it because Ray says, okay, you don't count my victory over you on SmackDown? Fine. How about I take you to SummerSlam and I make it count? And that was great because that was one of those instances where the face issues the challenge to the heel to shut the heel up. I loved it. So their match was awesome. And interesting story about that match is that Ray, so you know how Ray did that? He came from behind on Angle in the start of the match?
Yep.
Okay. Funny story is Ray came out in a jumpsuit, an all-black jumpsuit, and he had his mask in the jacket. So he took the jumpsuit off, but he threw the jacket away, and he didn't know where it was, and he had to come out. So he finally found it. He put the mask on, and he hit that sick head scissors to open the match. But throughout the match, if you remember, he was adjusting his mask because he wasn't able to tie it because he had to get the mask on and literally come out the next moment to start the match. But great match between those two. Like, I think one of the best SummerSlam openers. Like, I can't really say if it's the best because I haven't seen other ones, but just like how exciting that was. Ray almost beating Kurt. Kurt countering a Hurricane Rana from the top rope into the ankle lock. I mean, even in defeat, Ray looked strong. You know, that was a hell of a show he put on against Kurt. And it was his first pay-per-view loss, but that didn't even hurt him by a mile because he just went out there and did great things from there on. That was just one of my favorite matches to watch back. You know, Kurt and Ray. I wish they would have had another match, maybe on like WrestleMania, or maybe keep this in mind. Ray wasn't on the SummerSlam 2003 card. Keep that in mind. So, yes, I know the whole thing was Brock and Kurt. That was a great match, don't get me wrong. But what if a year later they did Ray and Kurt for the championship?
Yeah, that would be interesting. In 03, I mean, Ray was really, really, in his prime back then.
Yeah.
And that would be interesting.
Just think about it, Daniel. 1 year later, Kurt Angle, WWE champion. Rey Mysterio, Cruiserweight champion. Ray probably wouldn't have won, but just imagine how big that rematch would have been a year later. With the title on the line and Ray getting a shot at the title that early. That would have been so awesome. Nothing against Kurt and Brock from SummerSlam. I thought they put on a great match. But what if Ray had faced Kurt for the championship?
It's definitely a big what if.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you have to say about that match?
Oh, no, that was it, man. You're a great match. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out on the network. Ray and Kurt, one of the best openers in SummerSlam history.
To the best SummerSlam in history. I think we're in here 02, best SummerSlam. And with that, this will be a quick one. Number 10, I also have on my list Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero in the ladder match from SummerSlam 05. Best match on that card. And you pretty much summed it up, so I'm not going to take away anything that you said. So we'll go with what your number 10 is, Robbie.
All right. Kicking off my top 10 list is another match from SummerSlam 2002. And by far, this was the best match of the night, the most compelling and emotional match on that card. And you probably know which one I'm talking about, Daniel, because I know this is most likely on your list.
Yes, it is.
Unsanctioned street fight between Shawn Michaels and Triple H.
Epic.
Wow. What a match. Shawn Michaels was and still is my favorite my favorite wrestler of all time. Shawn Michaels was so awesome. And when I started watching Shawn Michaels in 1986, I was like watching the best way I'm going to describe it is watching Shawn Michaels wrestle was like watching a Michael Jackson video because Michael Jackson is my favorite singer of all time. His videos were like once-in-a-lifetime events. Shawn Michaels was like the Michael Jackson, so to speak, of professional wrestling for me because he just went out there and always gave it one hell of he always put on a hell of a show. The things he did were impeccable. And then he gets hurt in 1998, and he's done pretty much. And at the time, I didn't really take it serious, but looking back, that back injury and everything he was going through at that time, that's crazy. So Shawn makes random appearances. He makes appearances here and there. And then it's announced he's going to fight Triple H at SummerSlam in 2002. And that was supposed to be a one-off thing. And I was so happy he was coming back. And the fact that Triple H turned his back on him and threw him through that car window was crazy. Their feud that match kicked off one of the best feuds of recent years in the 2000s. The match itself was awesome. You know, Triple H really exhibited a mean streak in this match. I mean, think about that moment where Shawn gets the backbreaker through the chair.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that was, I felt so bad for Shawn in that match. Like he took punishment, but that match was just incredible. The things Shawn did made him look like he was, I don't know how many years younger, but it looked like he was a new Shawn Michaels. The splash through the table, the drop off the ladder, you know, just the way he took it to Triple H. Keep in mind, this is a guy who 4 years prior to that match had a serious back injury, didn't think he'd ever wrestle again. He comes back 4 years later. He looks incredible. He's turned his life around. He's a born-again Christian, and he puts on one of the best performances of his career and one of the best matches ever in SummerSlam history, probably the best match in SummerSlam history. It was just incredible, and to see him win was just awesome. And then Shawn won, but who got the last laugh at the end of that match?
Triple H.
Triple H hits him in the back with a sledgehammer. And then the second time he hits him with the sledgehammer, it's like when you drop the guillotine on somebody's head. It was like that to him was killing the legend of HBK. That was awesome. Their match was awesome. And who'd have thought that Shawn Michaels would wrestle for almost 8 more years after that match? Before retiring.
His second run was probably his best run, in my opinion.
He had great matches during his first run, but in his second run, he had even better matches and probably the best run of his career. Yep. And it all started with this one match, and this is a testament to how awesome Shawn Michaels is, one of the all-time greats, and what a match he had with Triple H, and what a feud they had for the next 2 years, but definitely one of my favorites, in my top 10. I haven't watched it recently, but like I used to watch it a lot back in 2002. The highlights of that match are incredible. It's just, you have to see it to believe it. And what Shawn Michaels did after that back injury, I mean, the bumps and leaps he took, just incredible.
And you also have to mention JR's call on this match was great, as it always was, and he just added that much more when Triple H took the sledgehammer and he smacked Michaels in the back with it. JR was like, "That son of a bitch! Triple H, that son of a no-good bitch! He hit Michaels defensively in the back!" I mean, it was just a great call. That's my little impersonation.
JR's commentary, King's commentary in that match was awesome. Yeah, Triple H is gonna rot in hell for that.
Yes, it was great, and I always look forward to rewatching not only SummerSlam 02, but specifically this match. So that's a great pick, Robbie. And like you said, you will be seeing this match in my list as well later on, the higher we get. So with that, let's move on to number 9s. My number 9 pick for my top 15 favorite matches in SummerSlam history is the classic from SummerSlam 1991 for the Intercontinental Championship. It's Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect. And Mr. Perfect, one of the all-time greats, and Bret Hart, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever would be. You know, this was in Madison Square Garden, SummerSlam 91, a really good SummerSlam in my opinion. A lot of good stuff on this show, and to me, this was the best match on this show. You know, this was at a time when the Intercontinental Championship was the second richest prize in the WWF. I mean, you had amazing matches between, you know, Hart and Piper and Hart and Bulldog, and they really, you know, made that belt mean something. And in this match right here, you know, the emotional fervor when Bret Hart finally won the Intercontinental Championship in Madison Square Garden. Stu and Helen Hart were there. They celebrated with their son. I mean, this was just the culmination of a great story. You know, Bret Hart proving that he is better than Mr. Perfect, even though Mr. Perfect said that he was perfect and better than the excellence of execution. I just love the way that they hyped and built up this match, and they went in there. Great psychology, great, you know, in-ring storytelling. This is just greatness all around from two legends in the ring. So what more could you not love than Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect from SummerSlam 1991?
One of the best Intercontinental Championship matches of all time. One of my personal favorite Intercontinental Championship matches. That match will be on my list later, and I'm saving my comments for later as well. But yeah, can't go wrong with Bret and Perfect, especially when you can consider that Mr. Perfect had a bad back going into that match. He still performed on the caliber that he did against Bret Hart. So that is undoubtedly one of the best matches in SummerSlam history, one of Bret's best matches. And it's just it's matches like that that make me wonder why Mr. Perfect never won the big one, why he never won the WWF Championship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
Mm-hmm. So my number 9 on my list, Daniel, is a match you previously mentioned. It's the second match from 2001 on my list. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Kurt Angle. Great championship match. I love the storytelling with Austin busting Kurt Angle open, and Kurt Angle, despite all the blood that he lost, because his face was practically a crimson mask, I love the storytelling that he kept coming back, and he kept coming back, and he kept coming back. He kicked out of like 4 stunners, I think, 3 or 4. And Stone Cold Steve Austin just kept walloping on referees because he couldn't beat Kurt Angle. And then when it looked like Kurt Angle was going to finally win, when he had the ankle lock on Austin, out comes that crooked Nick Patrick. And Nick Patrick screws Kurt Angle over. He disqualifies Kurt Austin. Not Kurt Austin. And Kurt Angle's awarded the victory. And I think they did that to keep both guys strong, because the next month would be when Kurt Angle in your hometown.
Pittsburgh.
Yep, your hometown. I almost said Philadelphia, excuse me.
No. Never say that.
Your hometown of Pittsburgh. The Pens, but Penguins, baby, Pens.
Go Pens. Woo!
He wins it there, and it was very fitting, especially after 9/11, you know.
Yes.
But great match. Like I said, 2001, I used to have the video. So I'd watch the whole I'd rewind the video and watch the whole show from beginning to end. Very underrated show. Austin and Angle, one of the best matches on that card. And I did like their feud from 2001 for the most part. I wouldn't agree with Kurt Angle joining the Alliance, but that's another story for a different day. But yeah, Austin and Kurt, great match. Kurt Angle put on a hell of a performance, especially with his face looking like a crimson mask. And even though it had a disqualification finish, it was ultimately to build up to their rematch at Unforgiven. And I love how JR just goes off on Paul Heyman at the end when he tells him, like, basically Austin knows he can't beat Kurt Angle for the WWF Championship. You remember that, right?
Yes.
The JR going off on Paul Heyman on commentary.
Oh my God, they were a really good commentary group. I love JR and Paul Heyman in 01. They were good. That was good stuff. Heyman would just rile JR up to the point of he would piss him off so much.
Yep.
So anything else you have to add about Angle Austin SummerSlam 01?
No, that's it pretty much for Austin and Angle. Because you pretty much, I don't want to, like you said, I don't want to take away from anything you said, although we're going to probably have similar opinions. Just another great match that I love to go back and watch. Underrated, in my opinion, too. Like I said, I think 2001 has a lot of underrated matches, and the show itself is just underrated because you don't hear a lot of people talk about these.
Exactly. All right, we're going to be moving on, folks, to our number 8 picks. And for my number 8 pick, I picked the match from SummerSlam 2000, which I thought was a solid SummerSlam, in the midst of the Attitude Era, kind of towards the end of it, but that's okay. I'm picking TLC 1, the Dudleys versus Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys. Now, while I don't think that this topped TLC 2 at WrestleMania 17, I still thought this was a fantastic effort from all 3 of these teams involved. They went out there, they took risk after risk, from the jumps off of the chair to Bubba Ray going through all those tables, pushed off the ladder onto the outside, and these teams raised the bar for tag team wrestling, let alone TLC matches. I mean, this was the first TLC match, so it set the standard. And technically, what was it? The Triangle Ladder match was kind of a TLC match, but this was the first officially dubbed TLC. Tables, ladders, and chairs. Oh my! And just great stuff. I mean, every time these 3 teams stepped into the ring together, they brought out the best in one another. And this was the match of the night, I felt, on SummerSlam 2000. And what more can you want? I mean, 3 teams going at it for the richest prize in tag team, the WWF Tag Team Championships. And they certainly put it all out on the line. And I believe Edge and Christian, yes, they did walk out the winners of this. It felt like they won all of these matches, or is it just me? They were always the one to win these TLC matches.
They won triangle ladder match, TLC 1, TLC 2. They didn't win TLC 3 because that was the one Jericho and Benoit won together. But yeah, Edge and Christian, the Masters of the TLC match. Another match that's going to be on my list later, that TLC match was awesome. And really, those three teams were the defining teams of the tag team division at that time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they were the foundation for the rebirth of the tag team division during the Attitude Era, and in matches like these, they certainly came up big. So that's why that's my number 8 pick on my top 15 favorite matches. Robbie, what's your number 8 pick?
My number 8 pick is from SummerSlam 2009, and I feel like this is a very underrated match, a true hidden gem, because when you think of SummerSlam 2009, you think Punk and Cena, TLC, DX Legacy, and Cena versus Orton for the WWE Championship. But this match was actually the opener from 2009, and it's one of my favorites. It's Rey Mysterio versus Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental Championship.
Great match.
Great match. This was the match where Dolph Ziggler really had a breakout performance. This is when the crowd really started to get behind him and see him as a potential star, a potential main eventer. And he went up against one of the all-time greats, like I said earlier, against Rey Mysterio. And the crowd was, I want to say the crowd was 60-40 in this match. And most of them were cheering for Ziggler because they wanted to see him win the Intercontinental Championship. And it was a great match. There were a couple moments where I thought Ziggler had Rey. Like, I remember he counters Rey's little splash with the knees to the gut, and then I forget if it's he did a la magistral or just a traditional roll, but he almost had Rey in that match. But that was a great, fun opener. You know, like I said, it was the match to me that really made Ziggler a household name, even though he lost. It was the match where he broke out and he really showed what he could do, and he could potentially be a future main eventer and a big-time player. And you know, Dolph has had a few big career highlights, even though he's kind of dwindled off in the past couple of years. Still, this was one of his best matches as a young up-and-comer. And like I said, not a lot of people talk about it. It's a real hidden gem, you know, but it's definitely worth checking out. And that SummerSlam to me was disappointing because when I looked at the card, it looked like it could have been a really good to great show, and I feel like some matches just didn't deliver. But this is one of them that's definitely worth checking out. Rey Mysterio versus Dolph Ziggler from 2009. Great opener. And it was the night that Ziggler really broke out. He really connected with the crowd.
Really good pick. I like that you included that match because that was one of the better matches on that card overall. So good pick for number 8. Folks, we're going to be moving on to our number 7 picks. We're getting closer to our top 5. And in my number 7 pick, I picked the Battle of the Brothers from SummerSlam 1994. This was the steel cage match between Bret Hart versus Owen Hart for the WWF Championship. This was one of the best steel cage matches, I have to say, in WWE history. Bret and Owen, they knew each other so well. They went out there and they tore it up. This was even better than their match at WrestleMania 10, and they had, in my opinion, what was, if not the best, the second best opening match in WrestleMania history. And it's a shame that this match didn't main event SummerSlam 1994 because they had Undertaker versus Undertaker main event, which, ugh. So this deserved to be the main event of SummerSlam 94. And dare I say, I think Owen Hart should have walked out as the WWF champion in this match. He was now calling himself the King of Hearts. Owen was so great. I mean, we miss you, Owen. Rest in peace. It's just he was one hell of a wrestler, just as good as his brother Bret. And he was definitely better than Bret on the mic. And you put these two in the ring together, and you knew they were going to have a fantastic match. And you add the stipulation with the steel cage, and then after the match, you know, Jim the Anvil Neidhart comes in, gets the padlock. They beat down Bret, Anvil, and Owen, and then eventually the British Bulldog and the Hart family members. Bruce Hart tried to get inside and help Bret. It was a great story that was told that night from everybody involved, and that's why it's my number 7 match on my top 15 list.
Great pick. That match is not on my list. That would be an honorable mention, but that was a great steel cage match. And there wasn't a lot of, and you know, there wasn't blood in this match, but what made it special was the storytelling, the feud that Bret and Owen had going in. Great match. You know, that one crazy superplex spot from the top of that. I think it was from the top of the cage, right? Yes.
It was close to the top, if not the top. It was great.
That's probably the best technical wrestling cage match I've ever seen, if I can classify it as that. But that was a great match. Bret and Owen had a great feud. I love their WrestleMania match. That would definitely, if we ever do a top 15 WrestleMania or top 20 WrestleMania matches, that would definitely be on my card because that was an incredible wrestling match from start to finish. Yeah, just to give my 2 cents, great cage match. Love the story. Love how Bret managed to beat Owen by like pulling his foot under one of the little bars.
Yeah, he got caught up. He hung him up.
He hung him up, and then you had the Jim Neidhart and Owen beat down Bret in the cage, and the whole Hart family tried to stop it. Like, that was great. That was great storytelling back then, man. You know, that was just awesome match. So that's an honorable mention of mine, not on my list. But if I can move on. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
To my number 7, we can move on to my number 7. Mine is the third and final pick from 2001, and it is Booker T versus The Rock for the WCW Championship. Booker T versus The Rock was always a dream match I always wanted to see back in the day. I felt like Booker T was one of the best performers in WCW around the time that Rock was a main player in the Attitude Era. And the fact that they did this match at SummerSlam 2001, which was on my birthday. I wasn't there to see it live, but it took place on my birthday. So that was awesome. I thought they had a great match for the most part. And the ending is one of my favorite endings of all time because Booker T's Spinner-Rooney pretty much cost him the WCW Championship. I mean, he hits the Spinner-Rooney, and The Rock nips right up, kips up, and then he hits the rock bottom on Booker T and wins the WCW Championship. That was such an awesome finish. Love the match. And I'm happy that Booker got to build the legacy he did in WWE, because if you remember, like, his early days in the WWF when he was in the Invasion, they were making him like a joke, you know, like the mini Booker T and Big Show coming out dressed like Booker, which was great stuff for the feud with Rock. But like, when you think about it, Booker wasn't in like the best feuds. I mean, he feuded with Edge at WrestleMania over a shampoo commercial that you can only see if you play the freaking Crush Hour game. Like, really? You put Booker T, one of the best, in a match with Edge, which I would have no – hey, I have no problem with the match, but it's like the feud was so ridiculous over a shampoo commercial. It's not because, Booker got eliminated by Edge in the Royal Rumble, or Booker cost Edge the Intercontinental Championship, or they had some kind of altercation or something. No, it's because of shampoo commercial. Really. That's another story for a different day. But Booker and The Rock, great match. I love that Shane McMahon kept getting involved, and then eventually the Acolytes came out, and JBL almost knocked Shane O'Mac's head off with the clothesline from hell, and Rock got the win. Rock won the WCW Championship. And like I said, if you guys haven't seen the ending, go check it out. It's a really cool ending. I like it. I like how Booker T's arrogance cost him that match. So number 7 on my list from 2001, and the final match on this list from 2001, Booker and The Rock, great WCW title match.
All right. With that, we're going on to our number 6 picks. And for my pick for number 6, I'm going with what I thought was a really good match at SummerSlam 2003. In my opinion, this should have main evented that show. And I'm talking about Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle. This was a tremendous match. I thought this was an even better match than they had at WrestleMania 19. And it's funny, they main evented WrestleMania, yet they didn't main event SummerSlam. You think if they're coming back with this match, they would have had it main event for the WWE Championship. Instead, they had the Elimination Chamber match, and I all know how that left a sour taste in people's mouths. But what I thought was overall this was a poor SummerSlam. In my opinion, this was the shining gem on that show. Like I said, Lesnar and Angle, they knew each other so well. I mean, with Brock's, I mean, he was pretty agile back in the day. You know, he wasn't as big as he is now, and with Kurt being in the prime of his career, I mean, these two went out there and they had a killer match, and the involvement of Mr. McMahon, and then Angle getting the win. I mean, this was just great stuff with the way he locked in that ankle lock and just wouldn't let go, and then Lesnar finally submitted. I mean, just a great match from start to finish. And like I said, between the two matches, this match and WrestleMania 19 that year, I think this was the better of the two matches that they had. I'm going with SummerSlam '03 all day, and I would sell on WrestleMania 19. Not that I didn't enjoy 19, but I just thought this was the better of the two. And you really don't hear a lot of people talk about Angle Lesnar at SummerSlam '03, and that's why I put it on this list. I recently watched it, and man, was this a fun match to watch.
Definitely. Nice pick there, Daniel. And if you guys have noticed, like sort of like an ongoing theme here is we have matches on this list that are very underrated that not a lot of people talk about. When you think of SummerSlam, you think of matches like Bret Hart and Mr. Perfect, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, The Rock, Brock Lesnar, CM Punk, Brock Lesnar, Bret Hart and the British Bulldog. You think of all those classic matches. But what's great about this, what I love about doing these lists is that we bring up a lot of matches that not a lot of people talk about. Like I said earlier, Jeff Hardy, RVD from 2001, great ladder match. Rey Mysterio, Dolph Ziggler, one of the better Intercontinental Championship matches of the late 2000s, and a great opener to SummerSlam 2009. Probably the gem of that card, because that card was disappointing. And then this one that Daniel just mentioned, Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar 2 from SummerSlam 2003. Great match. I personally think their WrestleMania 19 match is better than this one, but this one's still a great match. Too bad that Iron Man match wasn't on pay-per-view, but that was one of the best TV matches in WWE, WWF/E history. But yeah, I think it's great that we're getting to honor these hidden gems that not a lot of people talk about. I was just saying that, Cesaro, Kevin Owens from last year, I think that's a hidden gem, and it's only been a year since that match came out, since that match happened, but that's, I think, a hidden gem between two of the best from the indies. So, yeah, it's all about appreciation. With that said, my number 6 pick is the main event of SummerSlam 1992. Bret Hart versus the British Bulldog for the Intercontinental Championship. It was the match that main evented. It was the night that the Intercontinental Championship main event at SummerSlam. Incredible wrestling match in British Bulldog's backyard, Wembley Stadium. I mean, the atmosphere was perfect. The match itself was incredible. Bulldog went over. He beat Bret Hart in an incredible match. And what I liked was the inclusion of Bret's real-life sister and Bulldog's real-life wife, Diana Smith. It was great to see Diana. She was in the front, and there's a moment before the match where she's asked who is she there to support, or who does she think will win, and she says she's basically there to support her brother and her husband. And Bulldog cut this great promo before the match. I don't know if you've ever seen it, Daniel, but
I just finished rewatching it. Really good promo.
Yeah, where he says, Bret, when we get Bret, I forgot how he says it, but he says something along the lines of, like, when we get in the ring, I don't know, like, you're not my friend, you're not my family, I don't even know you. And it's like, that's when the Intercontinental Championship was really one of the most prestigious championships in the WWF at that time. Yes, the WWF Championship was the prestigious championship, but here in 1992, you knew if you won the Intercontinental Championship, you were destined for great things. That's how important it was back in the day.
It was a stepping stone to the WWF Championship.
Yeah, and the fact that Bret and Bulldog headlined that SummerSlam with the Intercontinental Championship on the line, that's a testament to both of them, and that's a testament to how great the Intercontinental Championship was back in the day. Incredible match. Bulldog had Lennox Lewis, the former heavyweight boxing champion, in his corner, and I love this. I love this moment because Vince McMahon brings up that Lennox Lewis will fight Razor Ruddock, and Bobby Heenan, that genius commentator that he is, says something along the lines of Joe Louis is gonna fight Razor Ramon.
I remember that. That was funny. Oh man,
that was priceless. And the match, like I said, the match is awesome. It's one of my favorite Intercontinental Championship matches. And I mean, what better way to close SummerSlam than having the hometown hero, the British Bulldog, win the Intercontinental Championship, beating one of the all-time greats in professional wrestling. I mean, that has to be the big career highlight of Bulldog's.
And it's fitting, Robbie, that you mentioned that match because, real quick, my number 5 pick is also Bret Hart versus the British Bulldog. And so you pretty much hit the nail on the head. I can't really add anything to what you said because you really summed that up well. So that is my number 5 pick. So you want to go right to your number 5 pick for your top 15 favorite matches?
Yeah. I was just gonna say, like, if there's anything else you want to add,
No, it was just being in front of 80,000 fans. What I think that's actually the large. I don't know if Mania this year surpassed it, but that was at the time the largest crowd in WWF history. I mean, think about it: the Intercontinental Championship match, main evented a Big Four pay-per-view, SummerSlam '92, in front of that type of audience. It's incredible. That's just awesome to see.
and
That's all I have to add. That's, like I said, you summed it up very well.
and that's the same card where you had Macho Man Randy Savage versus the Ultimate Warrior for the WWF Championship.
Really good match too. Really good match.
Okay, number 5 on my list. Getting into the top 5s now. Number 5 on my list is the main event of SummerSlam 1996. Shawn Michaels versus Vader for the WWF Championship. Say what you will about this match because there is some controversy behind it, but still, it's one of my favorite matches because, you know, like I said earlier, Shawn Michaels, when I first started watching him in 1986, he was the guy for me. Before Roman Reigns became the guy, Shawn Michaels was the guy for me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Shawn had incredible matches. He was just one hell of a performer. And watching Shawn beat the likes of like Diesel, the British Bulldog, and others made me think that Shawn Michaels was invincible. And then he comes up against Vader in a 6-man tag team match from In Your House in July. It was called International Incident. It was Vader, Bulldog, and Owen Hart versus Shawn Michaels, Ahmed Johnson, and Psycho Sid. If you haven't seen that match, I definitely recommend you check it out. One of the better 6-man tag team matches in the WWF's new generation. An awesome match from start to finish. And Vader pins Shawn Michaels with the Vader Bomb. And I'm like, what just happened? So Vader, on the strength of that win, gets a title shot with Shawn Michaels. And Vader at that time was a monster, if you remember. He was beating guys left and right. He hospitalized Gorilla Monsoon. He broke Yokozuna's leg. Vader was seemingly an unstoppable monster. So going into that match, I'm thinking Shawn Michaels, I don't know if he's going to make it out of that match the champion because Vader was just built up really, really well as a monster early on. And that match happened. That match happened the day before my birthday in 1996. So that was a nice little pre-birthday present there. I thought the match was great. Shawn's speed and agility gave him the edge early on against Vader. And then Vader starts to beat him up pretty much. And this match had the false finishes. Vader beat Shawn up on the outside, and Shawn got counted out. Vader was awarded the win. Jim Cornette knows you can't win the title by countout, so he gets it restarted. Then Shawn gets disqualified using Vader's or Cornette's tennis racket on Vader and gets disqualified, and Vader's awarded the match again, but Cornette again wants it restarted because Vader can't win the title on a DQ or a countout. So the ending is what really stuck out to me because Shawn hit Vader with Sweet Chin Music. Vader kicked out, and at that time, no one kicked out of Sweet Chin Music. Vader hit the powerbomb on Shawn. Shawn kicked out, and then it's like, okay, this guy's kicked out of that move. That guy's kicked out of this move. Who's gonna fall? You know, what's it gonna take to keep either guy down? Vader goes for a moonsault, misses. Shawn hits a moonsault of his own and beats Vader. Great match. Yes, there were some politics involved. Jim Cornette has said in interviews that Shawn didn't like taking the ass kicking that came with Vader, but I still felt it was a great match. I think it's one of Vader's best matches in the WWF. And I do wonder what would have happened had Shawn actually lost to Vader, because Vader was supposed to beat Shawn at the Survivor Series.
Yep, and then win the title at Rumble.
Yeah, which I think would have been more logical than Shawn beating Sid, but like Cornette said, because Shawn didn't want to take the ass kicking that came with working with Vader, they dropped it. So Vader, from there, didn't really do much significantly, but it's still a great match, and it's a match that really had me invested because, like I said, Shawn Michaels was my hero, and I'm concerned he's gonna lose to Vader because Vader is this freaking monster. You know what I'm saying? But great match despite the politics involved. And like I said, I think it's one of Vader's better matches from his WWF run.
Speaking of, before we segue to our number 4 picks, do you remember the one part in the match? Because it's on the tape, because I know Jim Cornette mentions this, when Vader's supposed to move when Shawn goes for the elbow drop. But he doesn't move, so Shawn has to change gear mid-gear when he's coming down, and he stops from doing the elbow, and then he says, "Move, dumb shit," or asshole. And yeah, you're right. There was a lot of politicking, but I always look back on that spot because it just looks so awkward, and you can tell there's a conversation going on in the ring. And
I have to go back and see it, but I always remember Jim Cornette bringing that up. He's like, Shawn's supposed to come off a freaking elbow, and Vader's supposed to move, and Vader don't move.
You don't move.
Yeah.
And Shawn was pissed. He clearly said some not so nice words to Vader.
Yeah.
And I just remember that part of the match. That was funny.
Thank you for bringing that up, man. It's like, hit some, move, asshole, or don't.
I love Jim Cornette. His shoot interviews are great.
His stories are great, but I feel like he doesn't give certain people credit, like what he said about Kevin Owens and how he bashed Lucha Underground. Like I don't like that, but his shoot interviews are interesting to watch.
Definitely. So with that, let's go on to our number 4 picks. For my number 4 pick, this is an underrated match. Continuing the theme, I have Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon in the rematch from WrestleMania 10. This was a year later. Ladder match, SummerSlam 1995. That SummerSlam sucked ass. It had, Kevin Nash versus Mabel, and go figure, it takes place in Pittsburgh, of all places. Arena. So we got a stinker that night, but we had a hidden gem. It was this, again, I feel this was, might this have been even better? I don't know, in your opinion, which match you prefer, but I really enjoyed this ladder match from SummerSlam 95. Like I said, the only good match on this show. Everything else, when I rewatch this show, I watch this match and nothing else. Shawn and Razor went out there and tore it up. I mean, just an all-time great, underrated, classic ladder match from a stinker of a show.
Yeah, I'm sorry you guys got that stinking SummerSlam from 1995. One of my favorite YouTubers on here, WAPW, he did a top 15 greatest SummerSlam matches like 2 years back, and I remember he came up to this match and he did a impersonation of Vince, and he's like, "Oh well, Diesel versus Mabel, this show's gonna suck. We gotta do something to salvage this piece of shit show. Shawn versus Sid. Oh, this is gonna suck."
Oh, well, yeah, that was the original plan, right? I mean, it was like, oh god, and then it would have been the worst SummerSlam ever.
Yeah, no, but this one match saved it. That's a great ladder match. I personally like the WrestleMania one more because of like the atmosphere and MSG and the first time ever at WrestleMania. But this one from '95 is still a great underrated ladder match. And of course, you were talking about in my match with Vader how Shawn, was cursing him out because he missed. Vader was supposed to move and Vader didn't move. Well, in this match, Shawn was a little pissed off because he couldn't pull the freaking belt off.
He had to bring it down.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. That was fun.
But another great pick from you, Daniel. And to keep the ladder match theme going, my number 4 pick is TLC 1 from 2000.
Great pick.
Just to add to what you said, Edge and Christian, great heel tag team champions, and they kept getting one over on the Dudley Boyz and the Hardy Boyz, and then it looked like they were going to get their comeuppance in a TLC match. They will never surpass their triangle ladder match. That was one of the best ladder matches ever. That was an incredible match, the match of the night, and the match of the year, in my opinion, for 2000. And their TLC match was great. I feel like they stepped it up a little bit. They'll never surpass that triangle ladder match, but the TLC match was the first ever TLC match was great. Lita took a spear and hit her head against the steel. That was crazy. Matt Hardy fell off backwards from a ladder, which he's lucky he didn't break his neck or anything. Bubba Ray going through the tables the way he did. Jeff Hardy going for a swanton and missing. Like, great spots from these guys. I mean, Hardy Boys, the Dudley Boys, and Edge and Christian were the three defining tag teams of the tag team division for WWF at that time. And it's still a great match to go back and watch. I mean, Edge and Christian have done things on their own solo, the same as Matt and Jeff. But we're always going to remember these classic matches. The Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, and Dudley Boys had some of the best matches of the Attitude Era, and they brought like a renaissance of sorts to the tag team division with these matches. And I love TLC 1.
Nice. So with that, are you ready to go on to our final top 3?
Final 3 for whoever has been watching us live. If you have, thank you. And now we're getting down to the nitty gritty, the final 3.
Yes, we are. So with my number 3 pick, this match is kind of, I'd say it's underrated. And we are also gonna continue the theme of ladder matches. So ladder match city, we're keeping it going strong. This is a great ladder match, probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite ladder match of all time. This is a true gem. It's for the Intercontinental Championship. So
I knew it.
1998. You know which match I'm talking about. It
Yes.
is Triple H versus The Rock in Madison Square Garden for the IC title. My God, this is just for two big guys to go in there and have a ladder match of this type. I mean, it was just great stuff. The story they told in the ring and the pop, the reaction he got when he won that Intercontinental Championship from The Rock, the blood in The Rock's eyes. I mean, this was just called by JR and the King. The atmosphere, everything added up to what I felt was this is one of the best ladder matches of all time, without a doubt. And this was a star-making performance. And I heard that this match helped to really get the people on The Rock's side. This is where his level of popularity began to develop, because you notice the Rocky Sucks chants, they slowly begin to turn into Rocky chants, and that's when eventually, he had that face turn, semi-face turn until he turned heel, before he turned heel at the end of 98. But this match was a star-making performance for The Rock, and, Triple H, one of the best rivalries in WWF history, the beginning of a long-time rivalry, and this was on a really good SummerSlam. I really enjoyed SummerSlam 98. And I feel this match is underrated in, a little bit, because it's just a damn good ladder match. So that's why I have it as high as I do. Number 3 is Rock versus Triple H.
And you only have to wonder what Triple H would have done as Intercontinental Champion had he not gotten injured.
Yeah, then he hurt his knee.
Yeah, and he had to vacate. And that's how Ken Shamrock won it.
Yep.
But great ladder match. I mean, like you said, the pop Triple H got was incredible. That was an incredible pop from the crowd inside Madison Square Garden. I mean, that had a big fight feel to it, and that's what made the Attitude Era special. When you had a lot of those matches that had these big fight feels to them, that SummerSlam just felt huge in its own way, And that ladder match, you have that match, you have Undertaker and Austin, you have X-Pac and Jeff Jarrett. You have, you know what? I feel like
Val, that was a really good match.
I feel like 98 is mainly remembered for those two matches, Undertaker, Austin, and the ladder match. But you had a ton of other great stuff on that show. And, that was really, I think after that match, that's when you knew The Rock, had to turn face. Because he's so over, he was really getting over with the crowd. So you knew eventually he's going to turn face. And even after his heel turn, he became he was always the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. But yeah, he became one of the big names, one of the most popular faces in that company.
Definitely.
All right. My number 3 is from SummerSlam 2013. I feel like it was the best match of the night, and it was the wildest fight of that card. It's the Best versus the Beast, CM Punk versus Brock Lesnar.
Match of the year.
Match of the year, no doubt. And originally, it wasn't even a no DQ match. It was a regular match, and then Paul Heyman on the pre-show announced it was a no DQ match. And I was so happy because I feel like it had to be a no DQ match considering their hatred for one another storyline-wise. This was a freaking fight. Brock Lesnar was a monster. I mean, he took a part of the ring, the commentary table off. He put it on CM Punk and he jumped on CM Punk. I remember seeing that moment thinking, oh my God, how is Punk not dead? That was just an awesome fight with an awesome build, and you honestly thought CM Punk was going to win. There were moments where you thought maybe he can actually slay the beast because he hit him with the GTS, he had him in the Anaconda Vice, and Paul Heyman kept inserting himself in that match. He kept getting involved, and Punk finally got one on Heyman. He got him in the Anaconda Vice, and then Brock whipped the hell out of Punk with a chair, and F5'd him on the chair, and that was just one of the sickest finishes I've seen in recent years. Great fight. I mean, even in a losing effort, Punk, I mean, the appreciation he got from the crowd at the end of that match was great. I wish I could have been there live for that match in LA because it was when they were doing it at the Staples Center. But you talk SummerSlam 2013, and I think the match that a lot of people remember is Punk and Lesnar. That was a fight. It had to be a fight, and it was just incredible. I loved it from start to finish. And I think that was, at the time, Brock's best match before he had matches with Roman and Taker inside Hell in a Cell. And I think maybe to this day that was still Brock's best match in his second run.
Yeah, I have to agree. That's from all the matches that he's had. And could you argue that was CM Punk's last great match in WWE?
Yeah, he really had great matches after that.
Yeah.
What did he do? Ryback, Curtis Axel, the Wyatt family. Yeah, no, his last great match was that war with Brock. And if you remember, that loss led to Punk coming out the next night on Raw, talking about how pissed off he was, and then he challenged this dude in the crowd to a fight, remember?
That was fun. He was pissed off, and I love that. I wish we got more of that on TV. But, yeah, that's a great match, and you will be seeing it in my list fairly shortly.
I've got a feeling I know where it's going to be, but...
Yeah. So, anything else you have to add to that match?
Just great match. Punk's last real great match in the company, and just an awesome fight. Like I cheered so loud for that match. I almost lost my voice the next day. That was awesome.
Nice. All right, folks, we are in the final top two, and my number 2 match is a match that Robbie mentioned previously. It is the unsanctioned street fight from SummerSlam 2002. Triple H versus Shawn Michaels. Robbie summed it up greatly. What an amazing comeback for HBK to get the win at a big pay-per-view like SummerSlam in his return, and then to just the level of pain and the agony, and you were really feeling for Shawn every time that Triple H strategically targeted the back of Michaels. That was smart psychology that got you even more invested into the match. You're wondering, how much pain can HBK take? And then so he got the roll-up. It was the roll-up, right? And that's how he got the win. And that was shocking. Place goes nuts. Everybody celebrates. And then, like you said, Triple H with the devastating sledgehammer shots. Shawn won, but Triple H got the last laugh. So that's all I really have to add to this match. You summed it up greatly, and this is why I have it on my number 2 list for my top 15 favorite matches.
Wasn't there a moment where he had like Shawn hung upside down with his back facing Triple H, and then Triple H hit him with a chair twice?
I think so, yeah, if I can remember. Yeah.
I think he had him, yeah. There's something about that. Something about when you said you can just feel the pain that Shawn's going through. That made me think, didn't Triple H hit him in the back a couple times with a chair?
He probably did, if my memory serves correctly, but great stuff.
Probably did. All right, my number 2 is from SummerSlam 1997, which is somewhat of an underrated SummerSlam. And it is the main event for the WWE Championship. It is the champion, The Undertaker, versus the challenger, Bret Hart, with the special guest referee being Shawn Michaels. I think Undertaker and Bret have had a very underrated series of matches. They had a match at the Royal Rumble in 1996, which was a very methodical wrestling match, very good for the most part, because when you think about it, in 1986, Undertaker was barely getting knocked off his feet by guys. And you got Bret Hart fighting him, and Bret is a technical wizard in the ring, so he has to use his technical prowess to bring Undertaker at least down to his knees to even get any kind of advantage, to go for maybe a sharpshooter or any other kind of submission hold. This match in 1997, great match. And this was at the height of Bret Hart being one hell of a heel in the United States with the whole USA-Canada rivalry. And there were people, including myself, who were hoping Undertaker would bury Bret Hart in this match. You know what I mean by like burying him, like shut him up for good. And I feel like they had an awesome match from start to finish. You know, Shawn Michaels being the guest referee added intrigue because if you remember, Shawn Michaels said if he in any way favored the Undertaker in that match and helped Undertaker retain the championship, he would never wrestle again on American soil. Bret would never wrestle again if he didn't win the championship. So there was so much on the line, and it made you wonder, would Undertaker beat Bret and Bret never wrestle again on the United States, or would Bret win the championship? And where was Shawn Michaels where would he play a role in this whole thing? Awesome match. Comes down to the end where Bret uses a steel chair on the Undertaker. Shawn puts 2 and 2 together after getting knocked down. Bret and him have a little verbal altercation. Bret spits in his face. Shawn goes to swing the chair, cracks Undertaker, is pissed. He has to make the count as Bret makes the cover. Bret wins the championship, and that ultimately led to Shawn and Taker's feud in '97, which culminated in one of my favorite matches of all time, the inaugural Hell in a Cell match. So it's great to see how that match led to the rivalry between Shawn and Taker, but I don't want that to take away from the match itself because it was a great match. You know, Taker as champion, Bret the challenger, and Shawn Michaels the referee. 3 of the all-time greats in one match, pretty much. I don't even think we ever got a triple threat match between those guys. That would have been awesome. But a great, one of my favorite matches from SummerSlam '97. It's on the Undertaker Tombstone DVD. Great match, and like I said, I feel like Bret and Taker have had a series of underrated matches that not a lot of people talk about. I think this is the best match of their series. And yeah, the Bret Taker feud is definitely worth, like, the matches they've had in the past are definitely worth watching. This is, in my opinion, the best feud, one of the best matches in SummerSlam history, one of my favorites. And I think this is also somewhat of an underrated classic because you don't really hear it. Because I think when you say '97, people immediately think Austin getting dropped on his head and having his neck broken. Yeah. But Daniel was my number 2 pick. And now your number 1 pick, and I pretty much know what it's going to be.
It is CM Punk versus Brock Lesnar in that amazing match at SummerSlam 2013. I still get goosebumps when I rewatch this match. I'm a huge CM Punk fan, and just to see him go up against the beast Brock Lesnar, I love the hell out of the build to this event and their feud, and it culminated in the match. I keep saying it, the match of the year in 2013. And it's a shame it didn't get the Slammy for that. I can't remember what got the Slammy. I think it was Rock, Cena too, but that was BS. But anyways.
That was definitely BS, man. I can't believe that freaking finisher fest of a match got match of the year over the insane war Brock and Punk waged at SummerSlam.
But putting that aside, this is a hell of a story. And like you said, the fight from CM Punk, the amount of punishment that he took. I mean, he only had a little bit of rest. He took that 2-month break, but you could tell, like, this was his last truly great match in WWE, and he certainly put it all on the line. And it would have been nice to see Punk get the win here, but that damn sneaky Paul Heyman does it again. He causes the distraction, and eventually Brock picks Punk up, F5s him onto the steel chair, and I look forward to rewatching this match as we lead into SummerSlam. It's a match I always look forward to watching, and it's a pay-per-view that is one of my favorites of all time.
Definitely. And a couple interesting points I want to bring up, Daniel, before I go to my number 1. I always thought Punk and Brock was a huge dream match to make, and I actually wanted to see them go at it at SummerSlam 2012 because I heard that, okay, so obviously at SummerSlam it was Punk, Big Show, and Cena in the triple threat match, and Brock faced Triple H. Months before that, I heard that Punk was going to probably fight Cena, and I was like, why John Cena? He's beaten John Cena already. Let's do something fresh. They just did it at SummerSlam 2012, and then I said, well, what if they did Punk versus Brock for the championship? Like, what if Brock won the title from CM Punk? How insane would that be? Didn't happen. It happened at SummerSlam the year later. No complaints because it was an awesome match. But it makes you wonder if Brock Lesnar had beaten John Cena at Extreme Rules and then got the fight with CM Punk for the title, would Punk still be would he go on the year-long reign, or would Brock beat him?
No, Brock would have beat him. Yeah,
Yeah.
hands down. I love Punk. I'm a huge CM Punk fan, but Brock wins that match.
And then the other thing I think about is the Colt Cabana podcast where Punk's talking about the discussion they have with this match, and he says, "Who's going over?" Well, Brock. Great. Who's going to be at work the next day? And there's just silence.
He knows.
Yeah, he knows. It's like, am I getting my rematch at the next pay-per-view?
Nope.
When's Brock coming back? Royal Rumble.
Royal Rumble.
So I have to put over The Rock, and he goes away for a while. I have to put over The Undertaker, and he leaves for a while. I have to put Brock over. He leaves for a while. Don't you see, like, I'm losing stock, man, you know?
Yeah. But, well, The Rock win I had a problem with, but I don't think there's no shame in losing to Taker, obviously, and I kind of disagree with. I mean, I'm okay with Brock winning because it did build him up to become this huge, unstoppable force, and he kind of needed to balance his win-loss record. I mean, Punk was in a bad situation there, but you think about it, Brock lost to Cena, he beat Triple H, then he lost to Triple H, so he was 1-2. This evened him up to, well, then there's the other match with Triple H, so he was 2-1. So I mean, he should have beaten Triple H cleanly, you know, at all the times they faced. He shouldn't have lost at Mania. Then he shouldn't have lost to Cena. So, you know, Brock needed to go on a tear as well. So it was a tough situation for both guys. So
Yeah. I'm just reciting what Punk was saying because I understand where he was coming from. I mean, if Taker had lost to Punk, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. I think Punk would have really benefited from beating the streak, but when you look at it, Brock's the one who's gone on a tear since breaking the streak. But yeah, Brock had to win big time against Punk because Brock was 2-2 pretty much in reviews going into SummerSlam. Like you said, he lost to Cena. He then beat Triple H. He then lost to Triple H at Mania, and then he beat Triple H again. He beat Triple H in the cage match. So he really needed, like, yeah. It is what it is. I personally have no problem with Brock winning. I mean, I understand Punk's frustrations, but Brock's win would then catapult him to the 2014 where he pretty much just killed the Big Show with a chair. He broke the streak, and then he beat the hell out of John Cena at SummerSlam in the match that I was at personally live. It's not on this list, but I was happy to be there to see Brock win the title. Yeah. But without any further ado, it is now time for my number one favorite SummerSlam match of all time. This is a no-brainer, man. When you pitched this list to me, I already knew what number one was going to be. We talked about it earlier. It's one of my favorite match. It's my favorite match in SummerSlam history, and it's one of my all-time favorite Intercontinental Championship matches. Mr. Perfect versus Bret Hart from 1991. You know, I met Bret Hart back in 2014, and I told him that this match is a great example, a prime example of great technical wrestling. You want a match where it's not about theatrics and you just want to appreciate the wrestling, go watch Mr. Perfect versus Bret Hart, 1981. They put on an incredible wrestling match. I love the commentary from Bobby Heenan and Roddy Piper and Gorilla Monsoon in this match. Freaking Bobby Heenan saying, what do you say? Something along the lines of, like, Roddy Piper's parents ran away or something. And then, remember he said that, like, Stu and Helen Hart were concerned because they snuck in to SummerSlam for the wedding.
Oh, man. Heenan was so great.
He's a freaking legend. He is awesome. One of the all-time greats. And Heenan's commentary just adds to Heenan's commentary is always great to listen to, don't get me wrong. But the match itself is incredible between Perfect and Bret. Bret establishing himself as a single star. Perfect working with a bad back and putting Bret over in just awesome match. And, you know, Roddy Piper, R.I.P., saying everyone in Madison Square Garden is thinking pink. I mean, great feeling for Bret Hart. Incredible match. One of the best Intercontinental Championship matches of all time. One of my favorites of all time. And in my opinion, my favorite SummerSlam match of all time. I can go back and watch it again and again and just never get bored. Just appreciate the performance, the wrestling, everything in it. I can't really say much else that we haven't already said. Perfect versus Bret, 1981, my favorite SummerSlam match.
All right, and with that, this closes out a very long, but this is a great video conversation. What a
Yes.
great way to kickstart SummerSlam week.
And
I can't think of a better way than looking back on the greatest matches in the history of this illustrious pay-per-view event. So, Robbie, I want to say thank you for joining me for this video, and you can get a plug-in for your channel.
thank you. Before I do, I don't know if you have any honorable mentions, Daniel.
Sure, we can do that.
Yeah, real quick. Some honorable mentions are, for personal reasons, John Cena versus Brock Lesnar, because I was there to see Brock take Cena to Suplex City and win the WWE Heavyweight Championship. X-Pac and Kane versus The Undertaker and The Big Show from 1999 for the tag team titles. I thought that was a good match. 3 dominant big men and 1 exciting young high flyer in X-Pac. Bret and Owen from 94, that incredible steel cage match. And I would also add the Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, and Triple H and Rock ladder matches. Those are also great. And I think that's pretty much it with my honorable mentions.
All right, and I'll throw my 2 cents in there. A couple honorable mentions. It's kind of tough to say. Bret versus Taker from SummerSlam 97. Great match. Glad you brought that up. Austin versus Taker. Really good championship match at SummerSlam 98. Rock versus Angle versus Triple H. Triple threat match from SummerSlam 2000. Shane McMahon versus Tess, the lover or... Oh, wait, was it... Oh, crap.
Love her or leave her match. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I couldn't remember that quite. But that was a really good match from that card. A couple more. I got Shane McMahon versus... Steve Blackman from SummerSlam 2000 when he jumped off the cage. Or the Titantron. That was great spot. A couple more here. Ambrose versus Rollins in the Lumberjack match. One of the better Lumberjack matches in recent memory. And to round it out, Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker from last year. So those are my honorable mentions.
I was just watching that match while I was waiting for the stream to while we were waiting to go live on the Hangout. And I thought that was a really good fight up until that, like I said, that stupid screwy finish.
Yes. But otherwise,
that killed the match for me. That really just put like a damper on SummerSlam last year. And it's funny when you look back at it. Let me put it to you like this, Dan, before we go off the air.
Yep.
You notice how like my icon is Bayley and Sasha Banks, right?
Yep.
Sasha Banks last year was not in the Divas Championship match. And I have to call it Divas Championship because that's what it was back then. She was not in a high-profile match. She was the night before with Bayley, of course, that incredible women's championship match at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. But she was in a freaking 9-diva, 3-team elimination match, and look at where she is now. She's going to be in one of the big-time, high-profile matches against Charlotte. I'm so happy for them.
Yes.
So I hated those factions in the Divas Revolution. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I hated when there was those 3 factions because I was like, why are you doing this, man?
That was awful. It was okay at first, and then they needed to split them up. But now I hopefully feel like the women are going to get the opportunities that they deserve, most certainly.
I mean, look at this card. You got look at last year, and now look at this year. Neville, he's not on the card this year, and you wanted to see him and Sami Zayn fight. You know what? They should have had Sami Zayn team up with Neville on Monday night.
Yeah, they should have.
Instead of Sin Cara, because I don't know. I feel like Monday night show was just a mess, man. I feel like there was parts of it where I was just like scratching my head, and there were other parts where I was like, well, they could have done this and that, and it's just like, yeah, not the best show Raw's put on since the brand split. But it's like Neville, Sami Zayn's gonna not even be on SummerSlam. What a shame, man. Like, he was on NXT last year, and it's understandable because he was out with injury. This year, he's not even on the card. He's not even on the pre-show, and he doesn't deserve to be on the pre-show because he's a main player, you know. But it's like, why not just do Sami Zayn and Neville as like the opening match?
Sure, I'd be okay with that. I mean,
or no, you know what? Enzo and Cass, they got to kick off the show. You know what I'm saying? And then you could do the next match, Zayn and Neville, a good 10-12 minute match. There you go. Because I mean, like, Sami Zayn, you want to build him up as one of your next top main eventers. You know what I'm saying? Especially after that incredible fight with Owens at Battleground. But like, just to put things in perspective, Neville was in a fun little match last year, not on the card this year. Brock Lesnar was in a big time fight with Taker, and this year he's going to be in a big time fight with Orton, which I personally think, man, needs to be no holds barred. Just like Punk and Brock was no disqualification. It's got to be a no DQ match of some sorts.
Yes.
Sasha, she's going to be fighting Charlotte. And I'm so happy because last year they were in the trios matches, you know. Rollins is going to fight Balor. And last year he had that great match with Cena. Cena's going to fight AJ. It's like they really stepped it up this year with the SummerSlam card. So I just really hope we get that the show is anywhere from a B plus to an A. So
that's what I'm expecting.
We will see. But Daniel, of course, thank you for having me. Of course, guys, if you get a chance, please check me out on Twitter and on YouTube, Robbie1 Kenobi, ROBBIE, the numeral 1, KENOBI. Very passionate about making wrestling videos. I do have NXT TakeOver Back to Brooklyn and SummerSlam 2016 predictions coming up later this week, as well as reviews for those shows next week. And please continue to just support me and Daniel. We love doing these collaborations. I don't know what number this is, but these are always fun to do. And thank you again, Daniel, for having me on here.
Not a problem. And before I close out here, folks, I want to say thank you for all who tuned in and watched this video. Got a big week coming up here with SummerSlam. So I'm going to give you my real quick SummerSlam channel lineup. Tomorrow night after Raw at 11:10, come on over to tune into my live Raw review. Then after the final SmackDown before SummerSlam, that'll be on Tuesday at 10:10 p.m. with my live review. Then I will be having reviews for this week's episode of the Cruiserweight Classic and NXT on Wednesday. Thursday will be my SummerSlam and NXT TakeOver card predictions videos. And then the big weekend is here. Saturday, my live review for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. That should be up around 10:15 p.m. That evening. And then my huge SummerSlam review will be Sunday, August 21st, probably around 11:15, maybe 11:30. So huge lineup of content coming this week to the channel. It's going to be an exciting time to be a wrestling fan. Guys, I hope you all enjoy SummerSlam week and the big shows this weekend. And once again, thank you all for watching. This is Robbie and Daniel signing out. Peace.